So hello everybody, I'm David. You might know me from like the previous time that I was doing this Discord sort of class. And today I'm just going to talk about like some of the processes and the tools that I use to do my Blender stuff and my Quill and Blender little animations that you might have seen before or maybe not. But if not, I can show you how I do them anyways. Well, first of all, I'm just going to let you know that first I'm going to start working with Blender, and then I'm going to prepare some stuff so I can just move everything into Quill, and then I'm going to try to explain how I use the stuff that I export from Blender into Quill. And then we're going to go back to Blender to do some rendering. Hopefully I have enough time to do the whole thing. And then if along the way you have any questions, don't be afraid to just turn on your microphones and just ask me the question. Yeah?
Also, if you don't want to interrupt, make sure to use the panel text chat, and I'm going to read the questions to David when the time is right. So yeah, just also use the text chat for questions as well.
Cool. So, okay, let's just get started. I'm going to start going into Blender. So I don't know if people are familiar with Blender, but Blender is basically just not just, has lots of stuff to, lots of tools to work with, but it's basically a 3D software. The good thing is that it's open source, so you're allowed to just modify the code if you are into coding and everything. And also it's also free, so you don't have to pay anything for it, which makes it really accessible.
Thank you, Papa.
I'm going to start. I prepared a really simple scene with just a sort of like funny looking rabbit with a trolley and then some shelves with stuff. The one thing that you need to know to be able to see your stuff from Blender into Quill is that you need to paint what is called the vertex colors. So right now, this is the model that I start with, which is just like basically just the basic material, nothing, no colors or anything. And then I'm going to go to, you have to go up here into, let me just close this. So here there's different ways of visualizing whatever you have on your scene. So first of all, I'm just going to go to this little arrow here and then turn on vertex colors. So if you see, I already painted everything, like every single vertex and faces in here, so I can export them into Quill. But then if you want to do that, you can just, let's just try like, for example, with the UV sphere. So this UV sphere doesn't have any vertex colors information right now. So if you want to start painting it, you have to select your mesh and then go to object and, well, this menu up here, and then go to Vertex Paint. So here you can basically just paint whatever you want to on your, whatever color you want to on your mesh. If you want to be more precise about it, you can go to edit mode, and then, for example, let's say I want, here you can switch from selecting between vertex, edges, or faces. So let's say I want all of these faces to be a different color. So I'm just going to select them and then go back to Vertex Paint, and then here activate this icon here that is going to show me all of the faces that I had selected before, and then let's just go for a different color and then just paint that. Okay. So, and then I'm going to go back to object mode, and then basically you have now the information, the color information in your mesh, so you can export it into Quill. You have to know something about this. Once you export your stuff from Blender into Quill, what is going to happen is that Quill recognizes what you call like triangles instead of like quads or four side faces like in Blender. So probably your colors are going to be really weird. So if you want to maintain the colors as they are, like here, you would have to add that like an extra like an extra edge loop, so you can preserve that color, right? Because otherwise the colors are going to blend in. I'm going to show you how that looks once I export everything into Quill. So okay, so basically what I'm going to try to do is just animate this this rabbit in Quill, and then export it back into Blender using actually geometry to do it, which I guess the advantage of that is just like, let's say you have a 3D model that is really cool and really complicated that might take you more time to redo in Quill, and you want to animate it, then this is a good method to do it, right? Okay, so now I'm going to export all of this geometry into Quill. So basically first I'm going to, so basically my whole animation is going to be like the character pushing the trolley and then arriving and taking this object and throw it into the shopping cart here. So first of all, I need to know what things are not going to be animated, so I can just export that as a whole thing. So basically I'm just going to select everything, and then I know the head I'm going to animate, and the body too, and the trolley, and this little box. So everything else is going to be just the background, right? So I'm going to go to File, Export, Export as an FBX, and then I'm going to export it into the desktop just to be able to find it really easily. And then just make sure that you select these selected objects, and everything else should be just as it is. You don't have to change anything. So
we just didn't see the pop-up window, but basically what you did is just saved it to, there was a dialog, Windows dialog, right? And you saved it to the desktop?
Oh, yes, yes. So you can see the dialog window? Well,
only that one. Yeah, other than that, everything is showing. So.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So then basically you just there's going to be a pop-up window, and then you can just transfer it, right? And then I'm going to select everything that's going to be animated, and then again I'm going to select them, and then go again to File, Export, and then FBX, and then again here in the window that is going to pop up, you're going to need to go to selected objects, and then just maybe rename it. I don't know, animated or something.
Yeah, that window is not popping up.
Yeah.
For some reason, but it's fine.
Okay. Okay, perfect. So now I already exported everything into Quill. So now I'm going to jump into Quill to just show you how I use all of this stuff, all of this geometry to do an animation. Okay, just give me 1 second while I put on my headset. So now you should be able to see my Quill screen, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so I'm just going to start with a new file. Okay. So here, if you go to your timeline window, you can go to here and see here where it says the new 3D model layer. I'm going to select that, and then I'm going to search for my. Here are the two objects that I exported, right? The bunny. Well, I forgot to rename this one, but this is the background, and this is going to be the animator, right? So I'm going to first import the background, and just make sure that since it's the background, we don't need different layers for different objects that I exported. I'm going to select single layer, and then here there's a weird conversion settings between the size from Blender to Quill. But I find it that like if you import it in centimeters, then it's the right scale between both software. So then in Maya you would be what you call modeling in meters, and then here you will have to import it in centimeters. So I'm going to select that. So now here I have my like my background stuff that I exported from Blender. If you notice, this is what I was talking about, right? Like since it's squads, like the vertex colors get what we call like smooth out. But since we are not doing, since everything that is going to be done here is going to be exported back into Blender, then this is not an issue right here. So in order to not see the edges or the wireframe of your object, you have to go select here, click in there, and then just uncheck the wireframe mode. And then if you're happy with the like the plain colors like this, then you can leave it at like that. Or if you just wanna sort of like a leaded version of your objects, you can just select that smooth thing. Okay. Now I'm going to also import the animated objects, but now here again I have to go into centimeters. But then since it's different things that I'm going to be animating, then I'm going to uncheck the single layer. and you'll see that then each part of your character is in there. So you can just animate it in here. The only disadvantage to this is like, yeah, you know, since Quill uses the strokes, right? And then you can draw something and then manipulate that thing with the tools that you have in Quill. But you cannot do that with 3D objects. Like, for example, if here I cannot do anything, or I cannot even paint in that layer, right? Because it's a 3D layer. So, you know, if you're trying to do some squash and stretch or like some deformation to your character, maybe this is not the way to go. But if it's a more, maybe not realistic, but like, you know, more solid character, then this is a good way to just animate your character. I also didn't do any arms or legs for this character because I thought that it's going to be easier to just manipulate them inside Quill. So that's why I don't have any arms, but then here I can just put some quick arms into this character, right? Maybe it's like 2. Let's say those are the arms. Then I just put the legs, and then we already have a full character. Okay, so now we need to, if you remember a little bit of like how I set up my stuff with the grouping, making like a sort of like a rig here in Blender, here in Quill. That's what I'm going to do now. Okay, so basically I know that I want to create, let's say, for example, one that is the character group, right? So char group. And here's where I'm going to put all of the character parts, right? So basically I need, I'm going to call this the limbs. So I'm just going to put all of that here in the character group. Well, the draw, you know, the head and the body.
I had no idea that you do it this way around, that you actually animate 3D models that you made in Blender. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, actually this is the first time, because, you know, I thought like, oh, this is a good way to, you know, a different way of doing this. Usually I just do, I would do this, but just all of the character would be from Quill, and then all of the other stuff, like, let's say, for example, that animation that I did with the paper plane. Yeah, the paper plane is geometry, and everything else around it is geometry. But then I was like, oh, you know, you can also extend this into doing animation for your 3D characters. So that's what I tried here, and like, oh yeah, it worked perfectly fine. So okay, so now I have. Sorry, I'm just hitting my table here. Okay, so now I have the full character in like in one layer, right? So here, then I just need to break it down into the body and the head. So now I'm going to do another group here that is going to be called the body group. And then I'm going to put both of this here. And then again, I can go here into reset pivot and put the pivot wherever I want. So here, so I can move the character from the center of gravity, sorry. And then I'm going to do another group that is going to be called the head group. And then I'm just going to put the head there. Again, I'm going to be going here, reset pivot, and then put it wherever I want. So now I have control of both of those things, right? I also am going to separate the arms, for example, to put them into a different layer. Here, the arms. And then this one is going to be a parent of the body, so I'm just going to put it here. So now they are following the body. And then the legs, since it's easier to just maintain the contacts in the ground without it following the body, I'm just going to be leaving them outside the group. okay? And then one of the things, so here is the trick of how you translate all of this into Blender, right? So what I'm going to do is in each of these groups, for example here, I'm going to add a new paint layer. I'm going to call this head locator, head LOZ. And then I'm going to add a stroke, like the simplest stroke that I can. So it's not really complicated. I'm just going to put it at a different color just so I can see it. And then just, if you go to see the wireframe of this, you can see how there's not a lot of triangles there, right? But I just need even less triangles. So I'm just going to super optimize it. Let me see. So I have like the least amount of triangles possible. And then this one, I'm going to just position it wherever like the connection with the head is going to be, right? So basically what I'm going to do is just export these little pieces of geometry, so then I can import them back into Blender, and then that's going to sort of drive the animation of each part of the character. I'm just going to duplicate this
because you can't export transform keyframes, right?
That's correct, yeah. So you know, since I've been using like transfer keys, but then that's not exportable. That's why I need this piece of geometry that is actually well, more like a stroke that is actually exportable, so I can use it in Blender. So there you go. Then again, I'm just going to duplicate it and then put it into the body. Just rename it body. And then move it to where the body would be. Here I'm being a little bit, sort of loose where I would put them. But like, for example, let's say you have a completely fully rigged character in Blender and you know where the connections in, like for example, where the controller, the main pivot controller of your character is and everything. And then you want to export all of the animation from here into Blender, then you have to be a little bit more, precise on where you're putting these strokes. But right now, since I really don't care, because it's not a rigged character and it's just like a different geometry, then I'm just being a little bit loose about it. Okay. So so I have now all of my character, but I also need to sort of rig, you know, my trolley here, and then also that box that is going to be interacting with the character. So then I'm going to go here to the trolley and then make a group, put in there, call it maybe trolley group. Okay, and then I'm just going to duplicate this one again, and then just move it there, and then call it trolley locator. And then just move it. Let's say, for example, I want it to be here. So maybe later, if I want to turn it one side or the other in Blender, then I can just have that viewpoint to move the trolley around. And then the purple box is here. Okay, so again, I'm going to do another group. Put the purple box there, and then duplicate this one. And then just call it box locator. And again, I'm just going to put it here where the other box would be. So basically now you have all of your sort of like setup for animating this character, right? For example, let's say if I want both the trolley and the character to move like in sync, maybe I can just create one last group that's going to be called maybe both, and then I'm going to put both the character and the trolley in there. And now, for example, now I can animate both at the same time, right? So I'm just going to position it maybe here. Maybe I just want the character to move from here to here, and then just grab the box and put it into the trolley. Since animation takes a long time, and here is, we don't have a lot of time to, because there's lots of other stuff that I want to show you. I already animated this, so I'm just going to save this as setup, for example. And then I'm going to open what I already animated, so just this one. Oh no, did my thing crash?
Good thing you just saved.
Yeah. Oh yes, I think it crashed. Well, hopefully I'm able to open up that scene, because otherwise... no. Okay, let me open it. Oh, there you go. So here's the character. All of the setup is, again, the same thing, but now it's animate, right? So this is the character coming in, turn around, grab the box, and throws into the trolley. So that's basically like a really simple animation, right?
So good.
Love it.
So now, if you see here, it's basically the setup is basically the same. I added some new groups in there just to make some of the animation faster and easier. But basically, the setup is the same that I just did in the other when I set it up. So now what I
to understand correctly, the limbs are all animated frame by frame, and the rest is animated with transform keyframes.
Correct. So, like for example, here are the arms. So the arms are just all animated frame by frame, right? So now you can see here how it's animated like frame by frame, and the same with the legs. But everything else is transform keys, right? So now what I want to do is I want to export all of my little planes into Blender, so I can just rebuild what I built here in Quill, right? So first of all, here I'm going to turn off everything that I don't want to be exported. So here's the legs. I don't want the legs. I don't want the arms for now, right? Because I'm just exporting first the planes. So no legs, no arms, and then once you bake your animation with the once you bake your animation, all of the transform keys and everything, like all of the geometry is going to disappear, but since we don't need it, it's not a big deal here. So okay, I'm going to go at the end of my animation, select this both group that I created, then go to sequence, and then build oh sorry, that's not the one. Here, sequence, and then the loop, and then bake the keys. So if you see now, I have all of my little planes animated, right? So I'm going to do the same thing with the box. Again, I'm going to go here at the end of the animation, go to sequence, do the loop thing, and then bake the keys. So now basically I have all of my...
I think you didn't make the sequence on the sequence, right? Like
I did
the keys. Well, the keys of the box group.
Mm-hmm.
Did they bake correctly? Because I think you baked the box group with keyframes on it.
Oh yeah, and that doesn't matter. That still gives you the animation.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you see here, that's the plane, and then whoop, and then it goes down. Yeah.
Nice.
So now you have all of your planes that you needed, and then of course I also need the limbs, because the limbs are non-existent in Blender, right? So then I need to bake this one again, just with the legs and the arms, and then just turn off all of the locators. Head locator, that's it, right? So I'm going to bake it one more time. Maybe let me name this one the locators, and then bake it again. Okay, so now I have basically what I need from Quill, which is like the legs, the arms, and the planes, right? So now I'm just going to get rid of everything else in the scene. So I created a camera, but delete the camera, delete this that I don't know what it is. I don't need the groups. Oh yeah, this one I don't need, this one I don't need, and this one I don't need. So basically everything that I need is in here, right? That's all I need. So I'm going to export all that into Blender. Let me just rename this properly. So this one would be the limbs, and this one is going to be the box.
Quick question about the vertex colors from Nino. He's asking the problem with the vertex colors being blurred. Can that be fixed by triangulating the model first in Blender in case you don't want to have the final render in Blender?
Yes, I'm not sure about this to triangulate this, but like what does definitely work is just adding more geometry like around the change of colors, right? So like let's say for example,
Make it denser. You mean?
make it denser, yeah. So you know you don't get all that. For example, let me just see if I can go back to here. For example, here where it was like really not dense, right? We only have like these two are basically supposed to be white, but then since you're just basically have like two triangles, that's why all of that got erased, right? But whereas for example here you have two with the transition, so that's why that color was kept there. So let's say for example let me add this. If I added more geometry, for example, just adding another loop in there, then you have already that would be two more triangles there. So then it's going to smooth that transition up there here. So I can show you if you want to a little bit later. But yeah, you can definitely fix that. Just adding more geometry into your models. So okay, let me just. So these ones are, I don't remember what is this ones. These ones are the limbs. And this is the box locator. Okay, and then I'm just going to go to the export window here, and then I'm just going to export it maybe on the desktop just so it's really fast, easy to find. Select here, and then I'm just going to grab it as good. I'm going to use the Alembic format export, and then just going to go to Gamma here. Export UBC animation is good. So I'm just going to export that. And we're ready to go back to Blender. So just give me a second.
Professional transitions, I love it.
That was amazing. The transition.
Yeah.
Wow.
So okay, I'm back in Blender, and I ready to just import everything that we did into Blender, right? I mean from Quill to Blender. So I'm just going to go here in File, Import ABC, and let me just find it. That would be that one, right?
And quick question about you chose gamma versus linear. How does that matter for this export?
For this export, it doesn't really matter because we don't have any really colors.
Yeah.
Just the black one.
But if you had color, is that better to use gamma for Blender? Or
I found it, yes, because you know how linear is. I mean, I really don't understand much about it, but when I did my research, is like linear is just the linear sort of color, but then you know all of the like different displays have different ways of treating that linear color, right? Whereas like Blender, I think does a really weird thing with the linear color. So then the gamma, it's better. So okay, so now I have all of my stuff here, right? So I'm just going to try to position it to where it makes sense. Again, I'm being a bit loose about this. You should be planning all of this stuff out better if it gets more complicated, right? Because you know, let's say you have 10 million different things in your scene, and you have to match them all. It's better to already start with the starting position that you're going to be using on Quill here in Blender. Just so you just don't have lots of problems trying to match it. But now, since this is really easy and simple, I just match it really quickly here. So now the first thing that I'm going to do is just create some locators that I can parent all my geometry to, so I can just transfer the animation into the objects, the 3D objects here in Blender. So I'm going to go. Well, that's weird, but we can make it work. Yes. So let's try it, for example, with the body here. Oh yeah, maybe I just didn't turn it off, the other one, but okay. So here I have my planes, right? Like the body, the head, and the little trolley here. So I'm going to go into edit mode here. And then here on the side, we are going to go to the vertex tab here. And then I'm going to create some vertex groups so I can just parent my geometry into this stuff, right? So there, I'm going to select all of these ones. I'm going to create one that is going to be called the trolley. And I'm going to assign it. And then I'm going to just select the front ones, because what I'm going to try to do is just like a sort of like a parent allocator into these planes, but I also need the direction. I need a way to find the direction of how the rotations are happening. So as long as I keep one direction, let's say for example this direction, right? So now I'm going to be able to get all of the rotation information from these planes. So again, I'm just going to create another vertex group here. I'm going to call it trolley track. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing with all of the other stuff. So here, that's going to be, I don't know if I assign it.
You did that arrow just now. Is that grease pencil?
Yeah. That's just in Blender. If you type the D command, and then just draw over, you can draw over your scene. So
how does it know where you want to put the stroke, like in Z space? Like, it just guesses.
I think it's according to this axis. I think you see, like
okay.
Yeah, like for example, if I try to draw there, it's going to be
okay
to that axis, wow. Right? So or maybe the parallel. I don't know. I actually don't know. I haven't worked so much with grease pencil, but anyways.
So it came just very unexpected how quickly you did that. So I was like, what? what just happened? That's
I'm
awesome.
just going to delete this one. And
the annotation tool used the free cursor as the center point.
Oh, okay.
Oh, the precursor, okay.
So I lost my. Oh yeah. I'm creating. I'm creating the groups. Yes. So I'm going to create this one that is going to be the body group. Well, just the body is good. I'm going to assign it, and then the front ones, and I'm going to create another one. It's going to be the body track. Assign that, and then again here. It seems like a lot of steps, but once you get it, it's like sort of powerful what you can do with all of this stuff, right?
To understand correctly, what you're doing here is basically you're creating groups of vertices, and then you can parent stuff to those. Like basically, it tracks the movement of the vertices, and you are able to parent geometry to those groups.
Correct. Yeah, that's correct.
Oh, that's crazy.
And then this one, track.
So then that's exactly like how you could also export cameras then, right?
Yes.
Like basically, okay.
That's correct. Like, if you can just create like a group with your camera in your animation, your camera animation in Quill, and then just put again one of these little planes, and then you can just track your camera animation from.
So it's kind of what Zayu did in his camera tutorial in Houdini, but this is just probably a simpler way even to do that, right? With the plane. It's cool.
Yeah. So head track, assign this. Okay. So now I'm going to go back to, I don't know what, like this one stopped working, right? Okay, now you can see it. So I was just using the numpad thing to just go into one character to, isolate to one geometry to the other, right? So, okay, so I'm going to now create an empty, which is like a locator in Maya here. It's really big, so I'm just going to make it sort of smaller here. Okay, so now I'm going to create a constraint here. This is the constraint tab here, and then I'm going to go to copy location. And then if you see, for example, I'm going to track this object. So it's basically like a what I call eyedropper to just select what you're going to use as your constraint, and then select the trolley, right? So now basically I have now my my locator following that little plane there. So now the only thing, since I don't have any rotations here, I'm not going to do the tracking for this locator. So I'm just going to select the geometry that I want to parent into that, select the locator, and then just hit Control P and object and keep transforms. So basically now I have the, what do you call, like the trolley following that, that locator. And I'm going to do basically the same for everything else. I'm just going to select this locator and then Shift D to duplicate it. And then I'm just going to change its constraint targets here. So this one is going to be the body. So now it's tracking the body. And then I'm going to add one last constraint that is track 2. And again, select this one, the locators, and then make sure that up is X, and then track axis is set and target set, and then select the body track. Sorry, so now I have all of the rotations of that little plane there, right? Sorry, so again, I'm going to just go select the body here, select the locator, then Control P to parent, and object keep transform. So now I have also that little piece of animation of the body there. And one more time for the head. Again, I'm just duplicating the same locator so I can just change stuff here. I'm going to do with the head, and I'm going to do the head track here. And now again, I have all of the rotations of the character there. And parent your face to that one. So now I have a replica of what was happening in Quill here in Blender, right? Well, I forgot to do the one here. So again, I'm going to go inside to the edit mode. The shortcut to go into edit mode is just tab, tap, tap, tap. So I'm going to select everything, Vertex Groups. I'm going to call this one box. And then I'm going to select the front ones, and then assign this one and call this one box track.
So this, you have to create 2 separate groups in order to be able to track rotation, or?
Yes, yeah. So one is going to be the location, and the other one, just again, since I just need to track where is front, I need you know, the back one and the front one, and then everything else gets figured out from there. So yeah, I'm going to go back to my scene and then duplicate one of these ones on these locators, and again I'm going to go into the constraint, and then just here I'm going to need the box locator, and then box. Did you do it? Oh, maybe I didn't assign these ones. There you go. And again, the here one. If you just hover over your thing, of any, like, you know, box here in Blender, and you just hit Control C and then Control V, you can just paste information from one box to the other. So that's what I did there. And again, I'm just going to parent that this object into this one, Control P, and then keep the transforms. So basically now I have all of my animation with the box and everything here in Blender, right? So basically up to here, you just create all of your assets here in Blender or in any other software. Or maybe, like, you know, since there's loads of, like, you know, sites online to buy what do you call, like, models and, like, you know, scenes and everything, like, you know, you can always just use that as your starting point. And we export it into Quill, and then we export it back into Blender, and now we have all of our animation. So now what is left is just create all of the materials, because right now everything seems really simple and, you know, opaque and stuff. So now I'm going to create sort of like a 2D material for each of these things. So so we can render it, render your whole animation, right? So here I'm going to just go onto this little corner up here, and then go to the shader editor, and let's start with this bottles here. So first I'm going to go here into the material tab and then create a new one. and that's going to give you the nodes here. So usually I just start with a shader, this diffuse standard shader, and then now I'm going to add a converter shader to RGB. So now all of the information, all of the lighting information from this material is going to be transformed into just colors, because I just need the colors. And then I'm going to add a ramp, color ramp, because I'm trying to do that just two-tone tune rendering, right? So here on the top of your window, you can go into so you have different ways of seeing your objects here, right? So this one is the render one. So far it's all gray because we don't have any lights. So I'm going to add just a simple sunlight here. So now I have sunlight, then just position it however you want to. So let's say I'm happy with that. And then here you can move this. So basically you're just getting all of the information and then just trying to reduce it to like a two-tone kind of thing, right? So here I'm going to go to constant, just so I have two colors. And then let's say, for example, I'm happy with that. So basically what I'm going to try to do is just use this as a mask kind of thing. So if you ever use Photoshop or any other image editing software, you always can use masks, right? Where black is completely transparent and white is where you want to see. So now I'm just going to import, since I already have the information of vertex colors of all of my objects here, I'm just going to import that, and then I'm going to add a mix RGB, so I can mix two different colors. So I'm going to use this one here, and this one here, and this one here, and then use this one as the factor, which is basically the mask. So right now I don't see any difference because I'm feeding this node with the same color twice, right? So I'm just going to add a color and then hue saturation, and then connect it to the one on top. And then, for example, if I move the value here, now I have control over how dark or light or the saturation of the shadow stuff. So basically, I'm going to do it not so dark. So I have.
So the attribute on your left, the one with the red top, that's just a vertex color attribute, or?
Yes. So basically, this one just contains whatever we already painted right into the geometry. Right. Yeah. So this is basically like my basic setup for just like a cartoony kind of thing. But then also what I can do, maybe if we want to add a little bit of texture into this. Well, first of all, let me just brighten up maybe the lid part. So I'm just going to add another hue saturation here, and then just going to, amp up the value, so we just have a stronger contrast between the shadow and the light and the lid part of your model. So now I'm going to add a texture. I already created a texture. I think I created it in Procreate, which is just basically just a black and white image of like a textured, what do you call, like a textured,
like a noise texture or something.
Yeah, basically that. So I'm just going to add a image texture here, and then open up. I think I put it here. So
yeah, so it looks like the Windows open dialogues we can't see.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Maybe I can add it maybe really fast. Well, I don't know. Anyways, I just imported this texture, right? Let me see if I can show you the texture here. So if you see, it's just basically noise, right? Or like paint strokes kind of noise here. So I'm going to use that again on top of this, all of my colors. So I'm just going to add here another color hue saturation here. And then I'm going to use this one as again, since it's a black and white image, I'm going to use it as a mask, right? And I'm going to connect it here into the factor part of the box. And then I just need to add a way. So usually for textures, you need a like a vector to see how like Blender is going to interpret all of this information into your model. So I'm going to add a let me see, texture coordinate here, right? So right now, since I want to do, I wanna make it as flat as possible, I'm going to use the window as my vector. So basically, what that does is just going to, no matter. Okay, just so it's clear, I'm just going to use another color here, a converter, sorry, and I'm going to use a color ramp here again. And I'm just going to do, just like amp up the contrast on this image so we can see it better. And I think it's working. Is it working? I don't know if it's working. Just give me a second. Linear texture. Oh yeah. Constant here. Okay, so now you can see the texture appearing, right? It was basically just because it was to the right, this white thing. So now you can see the texture, but then since I'm using the window as a information to see how Blender is going to apply the texture. If I move, is like if the texture is connected to your camera or to your view. And it's just like hovers around, just so I have, because if you use like, for example, UVs, so UVs is just like basically just like unwrapping your geometry and then just adding the texture and then wrap it again. So that would give it a more 3D feel, because everything is going to be wrapped around your objects. But here, what I really want is just like a really 2D, flat kind of thing. So that's why I'm just using this as a reference, my view as a reference to do the so like that texture on the
So when you render
objects.
this, you would also keep the setting, and then you just let the character walk through the set without moving the camera, right?
Yes, if you want to move the camera, for example, the one that I did with the football, that the cameras were moving, I had to bake them into the
yeah, because otherwise it would look weird, right? Because it would slide.
Yeah. So so basically that's it. That's the simple sort of setup that I normally use. And then one last thing that I really like doing is just making the the texture flicker a little bit, right? So I'm going to just add here a value. Where is it? A value here. And then I'm just going to connect it to location here. So if I move this, now the texture is going to be moving as if like every frame is, painted differently. And I'm just going to add a little bit of animation into that. I'm going to go to the graph editor here, add a key. To add a key is just an I in whatever box that you have here in Blender. And just here you have a sort of like your graph editor, right? So then I'm just going to, here you have a modifiers, so I can just use that as noise modifier. So basically it's just a, what I call sort of like a noise into your graph editor to, to just feed you different values. I'm just going to amp up that small bit. So now you have it flickering, but then I always feel that, if it flickers in one frame, it's too much. So then I'm going to just add another modifier here. That is going to be the stepped interpolation, and here's this one, and then just use the step size 2. So then every 2 frames is going to change the sort of like the position of your of your texture here. So now once you already created one of your material, you can just add that material to everything else, right? So here's that material. Usually you would need to give it a proper name, but then I'm just trying to rush here.
So for this randomizing curve to work, you have to set a key first to determine from where you want to randomize, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So for example, if I change this, I can also change the whole values, right?
Right. Okay. That's cool.
So now I'm just going to propagate all of that information into my stuff here in Blender. And then the only difference with the things, with the things that you import from Quill is that you're going to see that the colors are usually called different. So here in the Vertex tab, you have a vertex color, right? Like for example, if I select one of my one of the objects that we created in Blender, they have a vertex color that is called COL, whereas this one is called RGBA. So then just in order for this one to work better, now we're not going to see the difference because it's just black, but then in order for your character, or I mean your stuff that you import in from Quill to work properly, you just need to change this one into, well, first of all, create a new material. So to create a new material, here it says like there's 14 objects using that material. So you just click on that, and then that creates a different material. And then just delete that one, and then input vertex color, RGB, and then just feed that into your node things, and then that should do it. Right now, I didn't see the difference because it was black, right? But then...
Did you just duplicate the material, or
yeah?
What's this? Can you just repeat the step with a 14 and what that was with? You said like 14 objects are using the material, and then you clicked on something, and
yes.
what was that?
Okay, so basically, for example, let's say I want to change the material of these boxes, right? So
yeah.
Here it shows how many objects are using your material. So you just click on that. That's going to create a new material with a different name. So now, for example, let's say if I want to change the hue of that one, no, everything else keeps the same.
Oh, it just duplicates it basically, right?
Yeah, because like
with the same values. And...
Yeah.
Okay.
And then so that's basically it for. Oh, I forgot this one here. The first material. So now I have all of my. I'm going to just hide all of the locators so it's better. So you see everything better.
So Hideaki is saying you could also use Vertex Parent for parenting stuff to vertices, and he said that would work without constraints. Have you tried that, or?
Vertex parents in Blender? I don't know in Blender.
Okay.
Because in Maya, yes, there's actually a constraint, right, where you can just parent a locator into like single vertex, and you don't need to do the tracking thing. You can just do like a parent constraint, and that would solve the problem.
I gotta try that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you want, David, I can show you like with the box, for example.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to like get rid of the parenting for the moment and just get back to the plane and the box, and that's it.
Plane and box. Okay, let me just double check. So this one.
You can get rid of the empty, or you can just disconnect the constraints first.
Okay, let me disconnect the constraints.
Live learning, I love it.
Yeah, right? This is good. This one is the constraints. Okay. Oh, but now let me unparent this one, right? And then so now
and empty. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
So you just grab the box and you grab with it the actual plane.
Okay.
And you go in edit mode. Like you shift click on the two and you just go in the edit mode on the plane. It will go on the two object, but because the plane is active, you can select the vertices. Like you have to select
all of the vertices there.
Not all of them, but just like 3 of them. It has to form a triangle. So you have to grab. In a way, you can get a triangle surface.
Okay.
Yeah, like this, for example. Yeah. And now you just have to Control P again, and we say vertex parent.
Oh, vertex parent. Okay.
And now you can change the animation, and you will actually move.
Oh yeah, perfect. Yes, that's true. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Oh yeah, thank you. So that's a simpler way.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, by the way, I'm the Blender referent on the Iranian island, like the Indian Ocean area. So yeah, I have like 15 years of Blender on my back.
Oh, that's
Oh,
really cool.
nice. That's awesome.
Well, you see, you should be doing this class then, actually, not me.
Yeah, I'm just starting Quill right now, so I'm on the Swamp Creature right now.
Oh, that's cool.
Awesome.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So you see, you learn new stuff every day. So okay. What else I was going to say? Okay, yeah. So now I'm just getting ready to render the whole thing, right? So I'm going to go to Compositor. Lots of people ask me like, how do I do the little, you know, because right now all of the what I call like all of the oh, I forgot how you name this. Like, you know, all of the contours of everything is just like a straight, really straight, right? So I want them to be a little bit more jagged. So that's what I'm going to do next in the compositor thing. So backdrop. I'm going to add here a backdrop. Whoop. Input a. I'll put a backdrop, a viewer here, and then just connect this into this, and then just do a quick render. So this is how it looks right now, right? Use nodes. Okay, there you go. So now I can see what's happening with my compositor. And here I just usually just add at this distort, at this place, and then this place I'm going to connect it to just another we call like another texture. I'm going to add a input. Where is it? Input texture. Yeah, here the texture, and then here I'm going to go and create a new texture. Well, I'm going to use just this one because I haven't used this one, right? I'm just going to create a clouds texture and then just set this one really small, like maybe it's 0.02. Then I'm going to feed that into the vector here. And then just move the scale. And it's not happening. Oh yeah, because I didn't select this one. So we're just using the texture and now you see it, right? Like, so now it feels like all of your, the contours are not perfectly straight. So I'm just going to maybe soften it a little bit, maybe 2.5 and 2.5. And then again, since I want this to be animated as well, I'm just going to create an input value here. Again, I'm going to just connect it to the offset, and then if I move it, then it's going to be animated, right? So then again, I'm going to just do the same thing, just create an animation for this one.
You can also connect the frame to the animation, to the node actually.
Oh, that's true. Where is the frame one thing, maybe?
Or you just have to you just have to type in the number.
Oh yeah,
hashtag frame, and like it's a Python direct connection to the frame, and that's it.
Okay, so then where would that be here?
You just have to click on the number and type in hashtag frame, and it will do like a Python driver, and it will connect not just the dièse sign, the hashtag sign.
Oh yeah, and frame. Oh yeah, that's true.
And frame.
Oh yeah.
And now it's connected. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and that works too. See, simple stuff. and then that basically it. Like, you know, now from here I would just start, you know, messing with the colors and then moving them. You know, maybe if I'm not really happy with the colors, or like if I'm not really happy with the camera, maybe move it to where it's a little bit nicer or anything. But basically this is the whole process, and it was in an hour. That's good. I don't know if anybody...
Yeah, how is it actually happening that you see the stuff in the node editor? How did you do this? That this shows up, the live update, the set in the node editor here? How
Here,
did you do that?
well, just
Yeah.
basically just add the viewer here, but then it's not going to be rendered, like for example, because you would have to render each frame, right?
Yeah.
So now if I render a
Okay.
different frame, for example, that one, it's going to update
Hmm.
this, but then if I
Okay.
move from frame to frame, it's not going to update the animation. Just
I
I'll have
see.
to actually render the whole thing to just see how
Like
it
a
looks.
snapshot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's basically the whole, all of the work that I've been posting is basically this is the whole thing, minus the, importing the character and animating the character, because usually I just do the whole, since our characters are really simple, the whole
So
animation.
when you
in
render this,
Quill.
is this all? I'm sorry for all the noob questions, but is this all rendered real time in Eevee, or like, is that the Eevee render engine, or is it like,
Yes,
what are
here's
you rendering?
yeah, here's just the all EV rendering. So the good thing is, like, it's real time, so you can see everything, right?
So all your work that you've been posting is basically just like writing out whatever is you rendered in real time, or
Well, after, because
or
now
do you do like a high fidelity rendering?
that's why this comes in, like, here, for example, after this, the whole thing, like, if I don't really like the colors, maybe I can just add a, I don't know, like a color balance thing, right? And then just say, oh, I need a little bit more brighter, I need a bit blah blah. But then after the, I would have to render the whole thing, through these things. But it could be sort of the same thing if you just render it from here, right? You can do a viewport render image.
Right.
And that
So
would be
it's
sort
like
of the same
super
thing.
fast, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
So yeah, and then that's basically it. I don't know if it was really confusing because there's lots of steps, and apparently there's lots of other steps that I could just avoid. But this is basically it. Yeah.
This was another super awesome stream, David. It's like amazing. Yeah, that was super enjoyable to watch. Thank you so much.
Oh no, thank you. And I don't know if anybody has any questions. And then I'm pretty sure, like, all of this process can be done in any other software. Everything just would need to change, right? Like, for example, in Maya you would have to use a different kind of constraints, or like, I don't know, in Modo or in 3D Max and stuff. Like, since I'm not really familiar with, I'm only more familiar with Maya and Blender, but I'm pretty sure that this is just replicable in everywhere in other softwares, So, and then that's good, I guess the advantage of this one is, like, for example, if you're like me, that I'm just like not really good at drawing or painting or stuff, but you're a little bit more comfortable doing, like, 3D stuff and then working with that, then this is a better, like a sort of like a good way of using the skills that you already have, and then just, like, using them to do, little animations here and there.
Super, super cool. I think you're one of the few people that actually use Quill for animation to bring it back with a locator functionality. It's just like fascinating. I never thought doing that. Makes me want to try that now. It's like super fun.
And I guess it's also really cool with cameras, right? Like, if you have a camera and then you spend lots of time working your camera in Quill, then you can do this with cameras too. So
yeah, absolutely. Cool. Yeah, it
Yeah,
doesn't
I
look
was
like.
thinking.
Sorry, go ahead.
No. I was just gonna say the same thing with the cameras. Like, if you do a storyboard in Quill and you place your cameras in Quill, I never thought about that. So you could basically add one of those locator things under the folder, right? Is that how would you do it?
Yeah, so actually, like Zayu showed it in his tutorial, but when you actually bake a camera, it creates a plane automatically, so you can use that directly as the locator.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, I didn't know that. So that plane can be imported later into as an FBX or Alembic, right?
Correct.
yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so you can parent that to a camera in Maya or Blender.
Yeah.
So you can have the storyboard with real cameras, like with
Like
the
a-
actual camera.
Yeah, like,
Like a Maya camera.
Yeah, you do.
Like a Maya camera, yeah.
Basically, you're doing your layout pass, right? In 2D. and
That's
then
really
it's like-
interesting. Yeah. I need to explain that to some people. that the non-believers and all that,
Yes. The
yeah,
non-believers.
that's awesome.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Well,
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. I don't see any questions anymore in the chat, so yeah, like thanks for running this class. I learned a lot. I mean, my head is about to explode with all that information. But I guess I understand the concept of it. There's no way I could reproduce it because I'm not very fluent in Blender. But like understanding the concept, how you think, is like very valuable. So thank you so much, David.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you everybody for being here. I don't know how many people were there, but
We had about like 30, I think, at some point. So
It's a lot of people here.
yeah.
Okay, so I'm just going to pass the recorder now.